Hello and welcome. My name is Melinda Hart. You are watching Stamping with Hart. I am an independent demonstrator with Stampin Up, and you are looking at the Fun Fold alternatives for the July 2023 Paper Pumpkin Kit Fun in the Sun. So basically, with this month's Paper Pumpkin Kit, which was an absolute blast to work with, by the way, oh my gosh, the pieces that we have to work with in this kit. I just decided mainly to change the fun fold. So I have been working with this back fold, fun fold that I learned recently, and it's just so cute and it's easy. And I thought, you know what? I bet you these paper pumpkin pieces would make a really cute back fold, fun folds. So that is what we are going to be making in today's video. Now, I also have a free project sheet for you for those of you who would like to download the free project PDF. You can do that. I will have a link in the description box below, and it will give you the instructions and the measurements for the back fold alternative card. Now, this is the original Paper Pumpkin card, and I wanted to bring these in because this month's Paper Pumpkin Kit was a fun fold kit. Now, they don't do that every month, but I just wanted to show you their version versus my version. So, very slight modifications. You know, you can switch up your die cut pieces. There were 3 designs in the Paper Pumpkin Kit. All 3 were step fold, fun fold cards, and so this was the original from the Paper Pumpkin Kit, and then here is my alternative with the back fold version. Okay, so just something to keep in mind. Here is that third card, absolutely gorgeous colors, again also a step fold. So the concept here, and here's my alternative, and the concept here from Paper Pumpkin was to give us all of these fabulous layers and images and imagery for summer. Different themes, you know, from beach to ocean to sunset to daytime. There were a lot in terms of, you know, all of that nostalgia, or even if you are somebody who still currently goes on vacation every year. That was something I did it as a kid, but I haven't gone to the beach, at least not like on a full-blown vacation in years. Now, here are the colors that I am using today: Daffodil Delight, Flirty Flamingo, Azure Afternoon, and Crumb Cake. There are more alternative colors than this that go with this month's kit, but these were the colors that I worked with. And then in terms of the cardstock, the only thing I swapped out was basic white for Crumb Cake, so very similar. I'm also going to be using my 2 3/8 of an inch circle punch on these alternate cards today, but don't feel like it has to be a circle. You can make it whatever you want. I just wanted to keep it nice and simple. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and we're going to get started making these cards. Again, if you are interested in the free project sheet, I will have a link in the description box below this video. I'll also have a link on my blog, and you can find out more information about today's project on my blog at www.stampingwithhart.blogspot.com. So leave me a comment. Let me know below. I am very curious to see, for those of you who currently receive Paper Pumpkin, if you are a current subscriber and you received the July kit, please let me know in the comments what you thought of the step fold fun fold. I'm really curious. Did you really love it? Did you find it complicated? Please let me know. I would love to hear from you. I would love to hear your opinion on it. So what I am doing here, this is something that I do almost every month. If Paper Pumpkin gives us a pattern on an envelope, and you can see we have 2 different patterns in 2 different colors, main colors, I should say, on this envelope. The outside of the envelope is a very pale blue, and then the inside is the Azure Afternoon blue. And then on the edge of the envelope, the flap of the envelope, which is what I'm trimming down now, there was this lovely pattern of stripes. And I was like, that is absolutely going to be a piece of basically designer series paper. So what I'm doing effectively, and this is something that a lot of us who make alternate projects with our paper pumpkin kits each month, a lot of us, just the envelopes are a go-to to kind of substitute for designer series paper in our monthly kits. So I was able to cut down that flap with the stripes to 5 inches in length to get that completely flat edge. And I was able to get it just a hair longer than that on one of the cards. So just depending on the thickness of the stripe for our back fold, I'll let you know what that measurement's going to be. But in terms of getting that sort of slanted edge from the envelope flap off, I would say a safe measurement would be 5 inches. You might be able to go to like 5 1/8. If you can stretch it any further, let me know. Okay, so this is a piece of Azure Afternoon cardstock. Here's what we're going to do. I'm going to cut this card base in half at 5.5 inches. That's going to give us 2 card bases with 1 piece of cardstock. Now, I'm only going to be making 1 of the Azure Afternoon cards on camera, but this is just a good way to cut the paper if you want to conserve on your cardstock. Now our measurement is 5.5 by 8.5 inches. And what we're going to do for our back fold is we're going to trim it at 7.5 inches. So it will become 5.5 by 7.5 inches. You can just set this piece aside. And now for the next part, we're going to score. So we are going to score at 3.25 inches. And just make sure you're not using your cutter here if you're using your paper trimmer like I am. All right, so we're going to score at 3.25, and now we're going to score again at 6.5. Okay, so this is important for a couple of reasons. You're going to fold at the 3.25 inch score line. You're going to fold forward. Okay, so almost all of our pieces that we're going to use as layering and to decorate the front of our card need to be at 3.25 inches or slightly smaller. It's entirely dependent on what you're looking for in terms of decorating your cards. I cut some at 3 and some at 3.25, and you'll see that as we go along. The second score line here, we're going to fold backwards, okay? And this is what becomes part of the mechanism of our back fold card. So that is at its simplest, okay? Essentially a back fold card. So it's deceptively easy. You'll see me making those again, but I just wanted to kind of step by step verbally tell you that. Now, if you're doing a color piece of cardstock like I am here, cut an insert in basic white. You're going to cut that to 3 inches by 5.25 inches for the insides of your cards. If the back of your card base is white, if you're using a basic white card base, then you don't need to worry about it. I don't even think you need to worry about it for crumb cake, but I can tell you I would actually do a white insert there. Okay, so here's what I decided to do. I wanted to do DSP in that stripe pattern. So I wanted my layer for the front of my Azure Afternoon card to basically, be about 3 inches. And that is certainly not what you get when you cut the flap down. And I'm sorry that I don't have a precise measurement when you have all of those stripes there. But I needed 2 of them to get the layer that I was looking for, and I slightly overlapped in the center on that center color to make it look like a continuous piece. And you can kind of sort of see that it isn't a continuous piece. It's very, very subtle. You have to be looking really closely. But I was actually really thrilled with the way that this turned out. So this is really cute. If you don't mind cutting up your envelopes, I think you're really gonna like this effect, right? Because you're gonna get 9 envelopes in your box. Now, there are ways that you can recreate this pattern that they printed on their envelope. You can literally trim slices of your cardstock just depending on how many shades you have. You can trim those down and then just line them up right next to each other, and you can create a background that way as well. I've seen seen a lot of demonstrators do that, but this is certainly a shortcut, isn't it? And isn't it cute? If you have any stripe pattern cardstock that are these beautiful bright colors, get them out because it's going to be super pretty. So that is basically going to be our the front piece. So this is a little bit shorter than I would typically make a piece of DSP for the front of this card. I would typically go to 5¼ inches, but I was not able to push it that far because these are, you know, basically flap envelope panels. So it's 5 inches on the front here, and you can see there is that overlap. So I did that slight overlap in the center. To me, it looks like a continuous piece. You can definitely tell that there's like a second piece overlaid, but once we decorate it, I think it looks really cute. Now, this was the first card that I designed with the back fold. And one thing that I would do differently, because we're going to decorate this with the palm trees, is I would have put my palm trees slightly more angled to the left because my circle was coming in. But it ends up looking super cute anyway. So have fun with your die cut pieces here. You have a treasure trove of die cuts in this kit. So for this little side strip, I cut this one a little bit wide. This is also from the, oh gosh, the envelope, but it's from like the pale blue, the outside. And the measurement that I like for this is 7/8 of an inch, in this case by 5 inches, so that it matched up with the panel on the other side. But this piece was actually cut a little bit closer than that. It was cut like just 1/16 of an inch shy of a full inch. And I felt like it was maybe taking up a little too much of the Azure Afternoon panel. But because we're putting our fun fold element on there, it's not going to matter too much. Okay, so tear and tape came as part of the kit. Our paper pumpkin kits are considered all-inclusive, meaning the adhesive you need is already in the kit. So I did use the tear and tape on this strip to connect these two pieces of envelope, basically. So I did do that. But I did bring in my own adhesive, which I do a lot of times. Two of the top things that I use in alternative projects is I bring in my own adhesive, in this case, Stamp and Seal or Dimensionals this month, and then also my clear blocks. So I usually bring in my own clear blocks, multiple sizes. We have something called a clear block bundle, which I highly recommend for anybody who needs more clear blocks. This is for those of us who are using multiple stamps in a session. We're doing multiple stamps, you know, and whether that's just on the weekend or if you're crafting, you know, very often, then I would highly recommend adding to your block collection. Okay, so this was fun. I decided to punch a circle. This was random, okay, but I decided to punch a circle out of one of the die cut pieces here. Now, I didn't line up this measurement right. I should have trimmed off the side edges before I punched the circle, but we live and we learn. It wasn't that big of a deal. I ended up using it as a decorative element on the inside of the card, but I wanted to kind of have that little bit of like beach and ocean look for my crab here. And if you didn't get the chance to see my original unboxing video, this little crab die cut, his little pinchers have a pre-cut slice so that you can prop the little banners or sentiments or anything that you would want to put in his little pinchers. You could just tuck right in there, which is just the cutest thing. I didn't do it in this alternate video, but I really wanted to like tuck the sunglasses into his pinchers or just something really cute, you know? I just didn't get the opportunity, but you're going to have so much fun with this kit. So I did choose the large palm trees, the die cut for my decorative piece for the front of the card. That was the piece that I was saying that I would have angled it just a little bit more left. Now I am going to use Daffodil Delight for the ink. That is the ink of the kit, meaning the color of the Stampin' Spot that you get in your kit. I'm going to be using my full-size ink pads today for my alternatives, but if you just have the Stampin' Spot, that's fine. Now this is crumb cake ink that I am using to create just a small pattern with the starfish stamp from the kit, and I'm just going at a slight angle and just alternating, you know, one side to the other. And that just gives us a really nice, simple design, which I feel like ties in that sort of sea, you know, element. And that's what's going to go on the strip. So I feel like it all kind of tied together because we have that pop of crumb cake there from our circle as well. And then we have a little bit of crumb cake on the palm trees for the sand as well. So I am using Daffodil Delight with one of the little rectangle sentiment pieces from the kit. And that is what I'm going to tuck into his pinchers. Now, one thing I do want to let you guys know, if you decide to do that, the pinchers will cover up part of the saying. If you're not using one of the long banners, if you're just using the small piece here like I am, if you tuck it fully into his pinchers. So I would say just kind of tuck it to the edge of the pincher and then use a little bit of adhesive on the back of your sentiment as well. So now I'm adhering this to our front panel. I'm going to adhere the other piece as well. I decided to put my palm trees, I decided to put a number of things up on dimensionals this time because I feel like this kit just screams layers and dimensions because it gives us so much in terms of die cuts to work with. So if you're somebody who is a fan of summer, or you're making cards for someone you know loves summer or lives in a warm climate. I have an aunt who lives down in Florida. I was thinking of her the entire time I was making these cards because I know how hot it is down there right now. They're at the beach or at least in their pool pretty often. So, you know, it's just things like that. You think of the people that you know would really appreciate the palm trees and the starfish pattern and all of that is so cute. So I'm just deciding where to put my fun fold element. So I'm using the same size circle for all 4 cards. I'm just going to shout that out now because I am going to be slightly speeding up the video a little bit. I did film myself making all 4 cards. I like to do that personally. I know not everybody does, but this way you can see how I arranged all of the pieces basically. And I will have instructions on my free project sheet as well. But it's all the same measurements for the fun fold, and it's all the same punched circle. We're just varying up our decorative pieces, basically. I might have slight variations on the size of the pieces, but for the most part, it's pretty straightforward. So here I put my crab up on a dimensional. I'm putting the little sign up on the dimensional, but you can see like it's at the very edge of his little pinchers there because otherwise, for Wish You Were Here, it would have covered the we're here. And I mean, I'm sure you know, get the gist of it, but just something to keep in mind. This is a little die cut seashell from the kit in Flirty Flamingo. And I think our crab is Melon Mambo, actually. It's color. So that combination I think is so beautiful. But that is our fun fold element for the outside of the card. And then I just decided to have a little bit of fun with the inside of this card as well. Now, I did not decorate all 4 insides of the cards. I really only decorated this one. But let me give you that insert measurement again. It's 3 inches by 5 1/4 inches. You can trim it to 5 if you wanted to line up with the rest of the pieces on the outside of the card. But when the card's closed, you're not going to be able to see the difference. Now, here was where I realized my mistake because my circle is now slightly off center. But honestly, it's on the inside of the card and it's totally fine. So I'm going to glue this layer down to my insert. You just using my Stampin' Seal for this. I like Seal Plus better just in general, but I ran out of my Seal Plus and I didn't feel like refilling it. I do have a refill here. I was just being lazy. So I'm just using my seal, which is fine for paper pumpkin kits, honestly. So here, what we're going to do is we're going to do a little bit of stamping. One thing I do try to do in my alternate videos is use as many of the stamps as I can. I didn't get to use all of them, but I did use some. I was proud of myself. I got to use the sun and the starfish. I got to use a number of the sentiments. So we're going to stamp Waving Hello on the inside of this card. I'm using Azure Afternoon ink here to do the Waving Hello, just because of it was being, you know, it was a cute sentiment. And then we're going to use Daffodil Delight for our sun. I used a lot of Daffodil Delight ink today for these particular fun folds. So for those of you who are very limited with your colors, if you haven't collected them all yet, or you're just getting started and you just have a few ink spots from your paper pumpkin kits, you can very confidently use your Daffodil Delight with these alternates. And if you will need to, stamp Waving Hello and Daffodil Delight, it's going to look great too. So I just stamped that sun to the left up at the top. It's slightly stamped off, so just have some scrap paper. And now we're coming back in with that starfish again in crumb cake, and I just wanted to have a little border on the bottom, and then we're just going to glue this panel inside. So you can have a lot of fun decorating the insides, or this outside panel, I'm sorry, this inside panel that I just created could be your outside panel. So just depending on what you want. And I've seen a lot of cute fun folds where you punch out the circle, and then when you close your card, the circle frames your card, so just however you want to do it. But okay, so the next thing we're going to do is we are going to add some of the embellishments from the kit. I actually ended up really loving these embellishments when I wasn't sure, but they look perfect on these cards. So they almost look like rock salt, but they're flat and they're round. They're clear. They're perfectly clear. And they don't take up a lot of space, right? They're not very bumpy. You can feel them. There's a little bit of texture there. They're not 100% flat, but they have a flat edge to them, meaning it's not like a gem or iridescent or anything. And it's just a really nice little touch to these cards. Now, here's the one part of this card that I do not advise, okay? So I'm just going to tell you guys the truth. I really like fussy cutting. I don't mind it. Fussy cutting this sun was ridiculous. So I know there's a lot of you out there who do not like fussy cutting, so you're probably already fast forwarding. But for those of you who do, even those of us who do like fussy cutting, just find a little circle die cut or a little circle punch or something to just cut out this little sun and put it on the front of your card if you want it there. I decided to die cut this thing. And it was a pain. It really was. So I would not do that again. I was like, I'm going to finish it because I started it, but I'm just going to be completely honest with all of you. So this is the one and only time that I fussy cut this sun. I would just literally use one of my circle punches or a circle die to cut this out, or just have it be stamped as part of a scene. So jumping ahead to this thing being done, we're just going to pop it with a dimensional and then put it at the top of our, I decided to put it against the darker stripes, but you can put it wherever you want. And then that's it. That's our first card. So let's go ahead and make the rest. And I am going to slightly increase the speed up time now, just because we're basically going to be decorating the other 3 cards. The fun fold element is the same. Okay, so this card base is basic white as opposed to Azure Afternoon. So you can see that these pieces, these die cut pieces, are a little bit longer than our card front. So we're going to trim this down. I trimmed this one down to 3 inches, but you could just do 3 1/4 if you wanted to go edge to edge for your scene. I'm going to do the same thing with this piece. We're going to extend. So because the card front is thinner but longer, what I'm going to be doing is adding a little bit more, kind of like stretching the bottom. So again, we're doing our stamp sun this time directly on the card base, right at the top corner. And then that way you can see how the sun is right above that little cloud line there on our die cut. Now I decided to glue the first part flat, and now I'm placing this one up on dimensionals because I'm going to tuck some of our die cuts into it, meaning the chair, so that it looks like they're kind of already down in the sand, because anybody who's been to the ocean knows, or the beach, that the minute you start putting chairs, umbrella, everything into it, just burrows into the sand. So I decided to take the bucket and the little shovel and this chair, and then I positioned those in there. I thought that was really cute. I didn't attempt to fit the umbrella on this one, but I love the chair next to the bucket. And then I am punching out my circle in Azure Afternoon cardstock this time. Now on this one, I was like hand trimming this down so that this little sign would fit. And then I got smarter as we got later into the video. So I'm just going to tell you guys right now, just line it up with the bottom of your circle punch and just cut the circle, like just use the punch to kind of trim that bottom into a circle shape, and it will line up perfectly with your circle. Okay, so you can either do it the way that I just did it here, or you could do it the easier way. So it took me a minute to figure that out. Now you'll see me using this stripe pattern over and over and over again because it was like one of the highlights of the kit for me. I love this thing. So now we're going to trim this to 7/8 of an inch. You can choose, which stripes you want to be on your card base here. So we're going to do 7/8 of an inch. And then I think this is just around 5 inches, or it might be like a hair longer. But it isn't the full 5 1/4 inches. And then we're just going to glue that down. And that's going to be part of our card base here. So you guys can see how easy this back fold is. I'm using this same fold in my Christmas in July class right now. I just finished the video and the PDF for that. And oh my gosh, I love this card. So I think, you know how you get obsessed with a new fold that you do and then you make them all? So that's what I'm doing. I just stamped the sentiment right into the little sign here. It's perfect. It's totally fine. So it's the Relax sentiment. We use Daffodil Delight ink. I'm just going to pop that up on dimensionals onto our little circle here. And then I was trying to decide if I wanted to add anything else, like any other die cuts here. And ultimately I decided to just go with our little embellishments. And through this whole alternate video, I used the embellishments from the kit. I used so many pieces from the kit this time. Okay, so that is finishing up card 2 of 4. Again, all 4 cards are back folds, but I'm just showing you the different ways at this point that I decorated each one of these cards. I couldn't decide on the arrangement of my little embellishments here. Can you tell? I could have just kept going. I should have just put more, but I do work with the sign again, I think on the 4th card, but I love the way this turned out. Okay, so for cards 3 and 4, this might happen to you with alternates on occasion. I am trimming this down. I don't remember if I trimmed that to 3 or 3 1/4, but I'll have the exact measurement on my project sheet and also on the blog. But you can trim it to either or, whether you want it to go edge to edge or be a little bit of a layer. On this one, when I was designing cards 3 and 4, I was trying to decide my layouts. I was really trying to match up, like, which card base did I want, with which scene, basically. So these two kind of came together. And this is something that I encourage all of you to try too. If you haven't gotten into alternates yet, get a bunch of your die cut pieces out, like punch them out from the paper, have them loose, and just kind of switch them out, almost like you're trying to see what pieces fit into a puzzle. I use the puzzle reference all the time with card making because that is how I personally feel about it. I'm just literally playing and putting pieces together and trying to see what is appealing to my eye. Now, one of the really nice things about the way they paired the die cuts in this kit was they had the die cuts on the same sheet that went with the same step fold. So you could hold true to that if you're going to do alternate cards. So I decided to do a Daffodil Delight card base and then also a Flirty Flamingo card base. And again, it's going to be those same back fold measurements. I'm still going to be using the same circle punch with the circles. And you're still going to do the same measurement for the inside layer of your card as well. So with these, I started getting a little bit wider. So this one you can see goes edge to edge. So I just trimmed, I think it was like 1/8 of an inch off of each side so that it was 3 1/4. And then the way that we're extending this to make it longer is we're using both of these die cut pieces. So with my, we're going to do the evening scene, we're going to do the sunset scene, and then we're also going to do the surfboard scene. And I was trying to find a way to make that umbrella fit, but it was just too big. So you can manipulate that and you could try that however you want. I decided to go with the Daffodil Delight card base for the sunset scene because I felt like it was extending the sort of that background there that we're seeing on the die cut. It was pretty, like it was separated, but I thought about stamping the sun in like a darker color, like when the sun changes at night when it's starting to set, you know, a fiery orange or melon mambo or something. I think that would have been cool, but I decided not to do that. So here I'm going to trim this down. If you want to trim it to 3 inches, you could do that too, but I decided to do this edge to edge. So I'm going to do the same thing. And I was just trying to decide which side I wanted to trim down with the boat. And I basically decided on the side that was a little bit further away from the boat. And so we're just going to glue these panels down now. I had so much fun with these cards. So you'll have to let me know what you think of these. But it was fun kind of making the scene longer. That's rare for me. I don't normally do that where I'm putting you know, a die cut piece at the bottom of the card. But this is one of the things about this particular fun fold that I think is different. So when you're deciding what you want to use in terms of your sentiments, you have a lot of words that you can use with your stamp set this month. And you could do combinations. It doesn't just have to be the one thing. And that was one of the things that I was struggling with in terms of what I wanted to say and where I wanted to put it. So with the banner die cuts that come in your kit, there's 2 sizes. There's like a really long one for our longer phrases, and then there's like a slightly shorter one for like our standard size like banners. So this is the longer one that I'm using here with one of our longer phrases, which I think was sending you an ocean of love or something like that. And I wanted to put it in that crab because I was trying to use the crab everywhere I could, and he just didn't fit. Like it just didn't fit. So I decided to line it up at the bottom of the ocean there because I felt like that was a good place for it. Now, a lot of times I put the sentiment on the circle. This time I decided to do both. So that's why I'm mentioning this here. So if you want to double up on your phrases, this is a kit where you can easily do that because we have a lot of different words to work with. And one of the phrases that I really, really wanted to use on my alternate cards was, sorry, I was so crabby. My birthday is in July, and our representation on the zodiac sign is the crab. And then, you know, so it's just one of those things where I felt like it was the right month for it. It was the right vibe. So that is the phrase that I use on the circle with my little crab. And I had a lot of fun with that. But this was while I was still in the design process and I was still trying to figure it out. Now this time I'm stamping our little starfish in Azure Afternoon, and I decided to just do one simple line straight down. And this is Azure Afternoon. This is the envelope. So the darker side, the more blue side of the envelope that I used for that strip. Same measurement again, 7/8 of an inch by 5 1/4 inch. For the inside of your envelope, you can use more space. And again, here I am, you know, testing out the colors, and I decided to go with white for this particular panel. Just remember when you're adhering your circle that you only want to put the adhesive on the edge of the circle that is touching the fold piece. So you don't want to put your glue all over because that way the fun fold wouldn't work. And I like to reiterate that. I know that you probably already know that. Many of you have probably already tried this fun fold. If you haven't, let me know in the comments. But it's just something that I like to say. One of the biggest things with fun folds is all about adhesive positioning. And that is also true for the original cards in the Fun Fold this month from the Paper Pumpkin kit. Now, Paper Pumpkin typically does like standard cards, and the majority of their Paper Pumpkin kits throughout the year are card making kits, but sometimes they do something a little bit different. They might do a Fun Fold once or twice a year. They might do a tag kit. They might do a little gift bag kit, once or twice a year, just depending on if it's a holiday thing or, so you never know. It's always a little bit of a surprise. But the majority are card making kits. So I would say that this kit is actually an exception. Now I did stamp, sorry, I was so crabby. I stamped that in Melon Mambo ink. I really wanted it to stand out. And then I was like, should I put this little starfish somewhere? And I decided to put it on the inside of the card. And then I'm going to use those embellishments from the kit again on the outside. Love these things. The more I use them, the more I like them. So if you don't have any clear embellishments in your collection, I recommend them. They really are a nice touch because they don't take away from the scene, but they do add just a little bit of sparkle and texture. Okay, so we're going to do our inside, and I decided not to stamp anything on the inside because we have two phrases on the outside of the card, but I did decide to glue in just that little starfish because it's yellow, the card is yellow, technically Daffodil's a light, and I just thought it was really cute. So I like using these adhesive dots from the kit. They're easier for me, but a lot of people like to use their own adhesive, so just whatever you prefer. That was card number 3. Now we're getting into card number 4. So card number 4, I ultimately ended up deciding to do a surfboard card. So like I said, Flirty Flamingo base, we do have our insert. The measurements are the same. I did decide to leave it in here so that you could see the layout. It would fit, right? You can trim it down and it would fit. But I just felt like it was too big. I don't know. It just wasn't lining up for me. So I decided to go with the surfboards. And then again, we're going to extend that look of sand with one of our die cuts, trimming those down. These pieces are trimmed to 3 inches. So I can tell you now that I'm looking at the card. There's a little bit of a frame. There's a little bit of a border there. So here is one of those leftover pieces from an envelope that I cut. And the outside has this really, really light blue. It's not white. It's not like a crisp white envelope. And I wouldn't call it balmy blue. Like, I don't know if they have it listed as an alternate card, but that's not what the impression that I get from this. It's just a very, very light blue. So I decided to use it almost like a sky background behind my surfboards. I really liked having a little bit of a layer. So again, this would stand in as our DSP. And I decided to stamp a sun in the corner there, again, slightly stamped off. So we're basically creating just a little bit of a background there with our envelope. Again, this time the lighter blue side. And then we're going to add our surfboards. And so this time I'm gluing them flat. But I was careful about only putting the adhesive on that very bottom piece down at the bottom so that I could tuck things into the sand, because that, again, to me is like a repetitive theme. Stampin' Up! Did it with their cards, right? The Paper Pumpkin team, they had a lot of fun with that. So I decided to tuck in some layers myself. You know what it's like when people are tucking their surfboards in and they have their sunglasses and their flip-flops and all of those things that we have at summertime. So I didn't feel like getting my trimmer out again. So I literally just kind of rough cut this. And I initially punched this circle out from the envelope, but I felt like it was too flimsy. So I decided to punch out another piece of the Azure Afternoon cardstock. Okay, so you could use the envelope, but I just felt like it was too flimsy for a fun fold element. So I decided to use the cardstock instead. All right, and then here, my original idea was I wanted to punch out these palm trees and I wanted to have it like circle framed. But I couldn't do it without slightly punching that sun, and I had already stamped the sun, and I didn't want to have 2 suns on one card, or that looked weird to me. So that's when I came up with this. So I just decided to take this little die cut here, and I just punched the bottom, and look how perfectly that lined up. I didn't have to fuss around with the scissors at all. So that's the route I recommend with whatever piece you want to put on your circle layer. It just worked out perfectly. So again, I'm going to use Daffodil Delight. I really like this square for some reason. I kind of keep going for that one. So this was the Relax Sentiment. But along the bottom of that sand, I think I left it in the video, along the bottom there, you could have stamped one of those longer phrases as well, just like the ocean one that I did before on the banner, but without the banner. I think it would look great. So totally up to you. Now here, I wanted to make my little side piece the banners, and I was trying to decide if I just wanted to do the longer one center and leave like space at the bottom and the top, or if I wanted to run the two smaller banners together to kind of create a pattern. And you can see I went with option number 2, and I thought it ended up looking really cute. I really like that. So it's just a little nice detail because we have that flirty flamingo edging around our borders. And then I brought in some die cuts. I alternated the starfish with the seashells and just glued those down. Now, I did try using my seal, but you guys, I just prefer the dots. I truly do. So I switched to the dots to add these in. Now, that said, I knew I was going to be still gluing my circle to some part of that, but I still felt like it was worth it to have the pattern there. So it's up to you. If you don't want to cover up your die cuts, that's okay. I totally understand, but just something to be aware of. So I decided to pop this one up on dimensionals. I think the majority of the things that I put on my circles are up on dimensionals, and then we're going to add this to the card. So I just decided to add it right into the center there. And it kind of covers the part where the banners overlap. But honestly, even if you didn't cover that, I think it still would have looked really cute. And then on this last card, I actually tested out putting the circle on with a dimensional as well, instead of gluing it flat, and it looked fine. It was holding up fine. So my little experiment, I felt like it went well. So here we're just going to tuck in our flip-flops into our sand, and you can tuck them in wherever you like. I just kind of tuck them right into that layer there. And then for our sunglasses, I'm going to do the same thing. Tried to put everything like at a slight angle or slightly covered, like that type of thing. And so it had that, it had that feeling to it. And then we're going to finish with our embellishments again. So this is it. This is our 4 cards with the back fold for alternates for July. I used so many of the die cuts on these alternates. I think I would have to buy a refill if I was going to make any more alternates, which I'm still trying to decide. So we'll have to wait and see. But if you are not already subscribed to my YouTube channel, I would love to have you subscribe. I try to do tutorials each week. The summer gets a little bit hairy, but I do alternate videos every month for Paper Pumpkin. Make sure, if you don't already have a subscription to Paper Pumpkin, if you'd like to find out more, you can click the link in the description box below to find out about the August kit, which is called Meaningful Flowers. I'll pop a picture up here so that you can see that. It's going to be a really beautiful kit. Really has a lot to do with kind sayings and encouragement. But the best part about the August kit is that there is a bonus stamp set in next month's kit. So be sure that you get signed up for that. You have to be signed up for the August kit by August 10th, 2023. And then I will have more information as it comes. All right. Thank you so much. I'll see you in the next video.